What are your instant regret moments with your so? I was trying to talk dirty with my wife. I meant to say, put my fat C in your mouth, but I got jumbled up and said, put my C in your fat mouth. That was the end of that little session. Not as bad as that, but my boyfriend once said, yeah, you like how Maya grabs your hand. Giggles were had. I went to swipe a wasp away from my now wife on our first date. I accidentally slapped her, and then when I went to check if she was okay, elbowed her, bringing my arm back down. Also, around 5th date I was carrying the bags back to the car and my wife asked if she can help as she was only carrying one bag. I replied, no, it's fine. You're carrying enough weight already. She stopped dead and just stared at me while she processed this. She took it all very well but likes to remind me every now and then. That's a certified oof. This one wasn't actually me, but my sister, sorry G. She and her boyfriend at the time had spent the night together for the first time and she has a sensitive stomach and is frequently gassy. She woke up early and felt the urge to fart, and remembered that a friend had told her that if she scooches to the edge of the bed, pointing her butt out of the covers and uses her hand to slightly spread her butt cheeks, it would be silent and wouldn't be trapped under the covers. So she did exactly that and heard her new boyfriend say, What just happened? Apparently she didn't realize there was a mirrored closet behind her and he had watched the entire thing. They are now happily married and trying to start a family. I suggested she name her D-Do after the blue wiggle for obvious reasons. So Anthony. Coincidentally also the name of her father that left before she was born, I didn't realize. Was kinda awkward. She did something that was just like her mother. I, of course, pointed that out and I swear my soul was ripped from my body for a few moments from the stare she gave me. Damn babe, you give BLW jobs just like your mother. My boyfriend asked me what my biggest insecurity was. Then he asked me if it was my nose. This was before we started dating. Was giving my GF a massage and told her she had no shoulders, meaning she had no muscles. Boy, did she take that the wrong way and thought I called her fat. My GF had problems with super puffy hands and fingers after running. Wow, your arms, biceps, look so puffy. She looked at me and said, my arms have never been puffy. Also the time she wanted my honest opinion on her purple lipstick, there was a lot of tears. My boyfriend and I were talking about glasses frames because I need new ones. Him, what do you think about clear ones? Me, nah. Aren't those out of style now? I think they make people's faces look bad. Him, oh, guess who has clear frames, and walked away sadly into the kitchen. I still feel bad. Normally he wears contacts. When I first started dating my boyfriend I was pretty nervous, awkward. He went in for a kiss, we hadn't kissed much yet, and it dawned on me that my lips were terribly chapped from sunburning myself the other day. I pulled away, and him, thinking something was up, asked me what was wrong. Of course the only thing my brain could put together was, I'm embarrassed to kiss you with my chapped butthole lips. He was obviously confused, so I had to explain what I meant. It gets worse though. The night goes on and I end up giving him a blowjob. And as we're lying there in each other's arms I casually mention that we technically did anal. I guess in the end he found my humor endearing. I was playing with my SO's pee whilst watching TV. Just casually getting him in the mood. It's really soft and I turned to him and said, "Aw, I love your little willy." I meant it in the same vein as, "Aw, I love my little cat." But F me. He remembers that 8 years on. He will never forget. He could turn 120 and forget everything and everyone else. He might not know his name half the time. He'll remember that time you said that. Was in a really abusive relationship for 3 years. Now with a wonderful woman. Woke up in the middle of the night after a particularly bad nightmare and turned over and accidentally kneed her gently and said, "Shit. Name of X, I'm sorry." In my dumb sleepy phase. Instantly backpedaled after realizing what I'd done. She caught it but I made up some excuse and we let it go. I still think about it to this day. One day my girlfriend was texting me complaining about dealing with a certain coworker. The things she was complaining about were rather small. And I wasn't in a great mood and just wasn't ready to deal with it as I was also busy at work. So I made the mistake of texting her, "Hey, just relax." As soon as I saw the text send I knew I had messed up bad. I was 17 years old and my girlfriend at the time was packing for a trip. We were talking about the combination she should use for her luggage. And I suggested using the date of my birthday, since her birthday would be too obvious. She then tells me, oh, I already set it to October 13th. And me, in my infinite wisdom, said, but why? That's an insignificant date. In 1 second her face went through half a dozen expressions, each one more terrifying than the last. In that moment I suddenly remembered. That was the day of our first date. Luckily before she could murder me right there. I quickly blurted out, wait, that's the day we started going out, and all was forgiven. One time we were making out early in the relationship and I paused the session to ask something. He, disappointed at the interruption, said, you know, you're bad at making out. Then I watched his brain catch up to his mouth and an expression of, what have I done, oh no, instant regret cross his face. I laughed my off. We've been together 5 years. I have not forgotten. We met in high school, so I pretty much did anything I could to impress her. She said she didn't like bananas, so for almost 6 years I've pretended to despise bananas and have to turn in an Oscar-worthy performance whenever I'm around her and we see one. I'm in too deep now. I have to eat them in secret. It's a heavy burden. Not but my date, which was a transfer student from abroad still learning my language. We were casually talking birthdays. And hers happened to be in September. So I asked her, are you a Virgo? Problem is that in my language we use the same word for Virgo and Virgin. So I looked up and she was looking at me terrified for a second before I did an instant regret TM and explained that in my language Virgo and Virgin are the same word. First date with now wife. Thai food. Great. We loved it. Awesome time. Dropped her off at home. Went inside to talk more since it was winter. After a 13-hour work day and a date, I promptly passed out. About an hour later, she's on the other couch dozing and watching me sleep. Well, what I haven't mentioned is that Thai food does a few things to me. 1. Makes me insanely sleepy apparently. 2. Gives me loud farts. 3. I'd been holding one in off and on again for the better part of 2 hours. 4. I have PTSD and regularly jerk awake ready to fight. There I am, snoozing along with her, peacefully dozing, when incredibly that same fart decides to pull a sneaky escape. Due to the noise I jerk awake and start swinging, either from the fart or the instant giggling from the other couch. I instantly realize what's happened and act like I'm asleep still. 10+ years and 4 kids later I still cringe about it. Probably not anything but cringy embarrassment. This might not be what you were looking for in the op, but man, I still think about it once a week randomly. Oof, I have a good one. Backstory. There's a girl in our town who killed herself when she was 16. She set it up so her ex-BF would find her to make him feel guilty for breaking up with her the day before. I never knew her. One night in my dorm, my now husband, but at the time we had only been together a month. We're talking. Somehow she came up. I said, yeah, she's as a whole to have done that. He was obviously pissed AF and his whole attitude changed. And he said, you mean my cousin? I still cringe when I think about it. We've been together for 23 years. We have these all the time. The best part after time together is that there is rarely anything said that pisses off the other. It usually is just laughing at how dumb we are. We were taking a shower together. I was super gassy. I opened the shower curtain to fart. It smelled terrible and the smell wasn't going away. Turns out I had sharted on the edge of the shower. Miso handled it very well but immediately got out. We were wrestling and I was jokingly threatening him to shove my finger up his ass. I was fumbling around in the general area and accidentally duded his btthole gently. I thought it was lower down. Super gentle dude. And yet it was like the earth stood still. We both froze and he doesn't trust me around his btthole to this day, even though my accidental btthole dude happened like 10 years ago. Took video footage of an unstable ex who'd blow up at me for no reason periodically, and when she calmed down I showed it to her. You can imagine the reaction. It was considered an act of a wholeness, not one of justifying why I was right. Which I kind of understand from her view. That's when I knew it was over. I'm sure I got the idea from Everybody Loves Raymond. And that's how it went down. Badly. My family were joking, saying I was the only single left in the siblings. I said yeah, because all the lads around aren't my type, blah blah. My sister says I also scare people, and my brother goes, yes, you're your own contraception, and the table went dead quiet before I snort laughed. Sometimes I get an idea that just feels hilarious but isn't. One time, I took my girlfriend of 2.5 years to a fancy restaurant. The napkins were black, and so for some reason I got the idea that I could fold it up like an engagement ring box and fake propose. So I did. I laughed to myself as I fold up the napkin into a box shape. I really quickly dropped out of my seat on one knee at the edge of the table and said something like, "You're my best friend and the love of my life." And in that instant I knew what I had done. I saw her light up to the highest of highs, and then immediately drop into the lowest of lows. The rest of the dinner was awkward. But she forgave me. We got engaged for real a year later. And we've been married 4 years now and are expecting a little girl in January. It all worked out in spite of me. I'm 50. My boyfriend and I were at a party. And I met a friend of his called Tanya. Conversation in the car after the party, me, wow. Tanya is really sweet. And she's hot. Him, well, she's short. So she automatically falls into the cute category. My 50 then just said, "Oh." And he immediately realized what he said and frantically tried to backpedal. It was pretty funny. I was not offended, but I did bring it up every so often to annoy him. I think he was trying to avoid calling her hot but didn't think far enough ahead. I have been with a woman for 7 years now. Pretty much since we were teens. I have always told her I wasn't ticklish. Of course she has tested this theory many times and I always keep a straight face just long enough for her to lose interest and stop tickling because it seems ineffective. I told her this because I didn't want her to hold the ticklish power over me because I knew she would abuse it. It started off as a joke to myself and never thought I'd last this long pretending not to be ticklish. Maybe about a year ago I thought to myself, this is silly to keep this up. I should just tell her I'm screaming in laughter on the inside when she tries to tickle me, so I did. I told her I was ticklish and now she tickles me. The end. Sue. My ex was a random bar hookup turned into relationship. The second or third time hooking up, seeing each other, we finished up and he proceeds to say something along the lines of, "Wow. That was the best I've ever had," to which I responded, jokingly because I'm awkward and stupid and, to be honest, didn't want him to get cocky, "Yeah, that was great. Definitely top 5 feet. I thought I was playing hard to get. But instead I gave him a complex. And it didn't help that he was recently out of a 9-year relationship to which he lost his 20s and I had been single for years, so I had naturally been with more people than him. The relationship realistically never should have progressed past that point. But it did. And that moment got brought up all the damn time. We really never had a chance. Oh man. I feel that in both parts. I went from my high school sweetheart being the only person I'd slept with till I was 22. To dating a few women and men. To ending up in a relationship with a woman who had slept with over 100 men. Once I'd found that out I developed the biggest complex even though I tried not to. I was too young and she was 7 years older. So it was doomed from the start. Then after her I slept with a few more people, still less than 15, and ended up with my fiancée, greatest woman I've ever met in my life, who has only slept with 2 people. When she found out how many people I'd been with, she was determined to be the F of my life. While I didn't exactly mind the extra effort, I could tell SX was getting stressful for her, so we had to work through it over the course of a few months. Having gone through it myself, I understood completely. This was with my ex. She wore sari and makeup to a Teacher's Day function. She wore blue, knowing blue is my favorite color. I was jaw-struck, but when she asked me, "How do I look?" I told her, "You look like a teacher." She was like, "Okay," instant regret at that moment. Oh, the pain. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was laying on the bed and she was reading. My dog decided that she wanted to hump the ever-living crap out of my leg. Of course. My wife thought this was funnier than hell. So, being the genius I am, I tried to explain what it meant and that it was nothing, say UAL. Big mistake. I explained to her that she did it because she was trying to establish dominance over me and that it is normal behavior for dogs. It's been about 7 years since that decision. I now have to live every day wondering when I'm going to get the dry humped out of me. My now wife thinks dominating me is the best thing since sliced bread. I had hoped that she would have lost interest. But nope. For 7 years. I get dominated while I wash dishes. When I'm trying to read. Before I wake up. In the shower. In public when she thinks no one is looking. 7 F King years.